Hello, Grace. Welcome back to our reading plan. Today is July 3rd, and we are finishing the book of Proverbs today. We are looking at chapter 30 and 31. Now, if you remember a month or so ago, when we were talking about Proverbs at the beginning of reading the section in this chronological order, we said that Proverbs is broken up into three sections. We have the first sections, which are a series of speeches from a king to a father, from a father to a son. And then we have our normal pithy maxim sayings for wisdom in the middle section, and then the last two chapters are another section, an appendix, a closing to the book of Proverbs. These are unique. They are not the sayings of King Solomon. We have the sayings of Agur, and we have the sayings of King Lemuel and the Proverbs 31 woman. And there's a lot of similar content that we're going to see, but Agur uses lots of numbers in his wisdom that he gives. And then we have this long description of a woman of noble character. But let's dive in and see some of these unique things. Well, first we see that Agur comes to the Lord with humility. I am weary and worn out. I am stupid. I don't know what humans should know. I'm lower at. He's seeing himself maybe in light of who God is, right? We see a meditation later on in verse 4 about who God is. Who but God goes up to heaven and comes back down? How could I know such lofty things is basically what he's saying. Who can hold the wind in his fist or wrap the ocean in his cloak? Who's created the whole wide world? He's saying, look, I am stupid compared to you, God. I need to humble myself before you. And then he goes on to say, Lord, I know that I'm so low, but here are a few things that I desire. And this is why we are reading this, because the Proverbs are telling us, hey, we should think of ourselves less than we do. Often we think of ourselves too highly than we ought. And that's throughout Scripture. We see that in Romans. We see that in the life of Jesus, in the teachings of Jesus, that we need to think of others more highly than ourselves. So he says this, I don't want to lie, and also don't give me too much or poverty. Give me just enough to satisfy my needs. And the NIV translate it, give me my daily bread, which is exactly what Jesus tells us to pray. And so Jesus is essentially pointing back to Proverbs saying, this is wise. This is what you need, is to seek God just for what you need. And then he says, I want this. Why? Because if I grow rich, I may deny you and say, who is the Lord? And if I'm too poor, I may steal and thus insult God's holy name. And this is a reference to Deuteronomy 8, where Moses warns them, I see that when you get to the promised land and you start to accumulate wealth, you're going to forget that God is the one who is the source of all these things. And so the Proverbs, Agur is saying, I don't want to forget you. And then he goes into his three things and his four things, right? He says in verse 15, there are three things that are never satisfied, no four that never say enough. And it's grave, barren womb, thirsty desert, blazing fire. These things are all are things that people are often afraid of and are worried about, and they really bring people low. And then he has another four things. How the eagle glides from the sky, how a snake slithers on the rock, how a ship navigates the ocean, how a man loves a woman. Now, I've seen some commentaries where they say this is a messianic reference, right? Eagle glides to the sky. Jesus promises to shield us like a eagle. A snake slithers on the rock, right? A snake slithers on a rock, but Jesus kills the snake and he's the solid rock. And then the ship navigates the ocean, that Jesus calms the sea. And so he controls all of these things. Then a man loves a woman, and this connects to the bride and the bridegroom imagery. Now, the next 4 is in verse 21. 3 things that make the earth tremble, 4 it cannot endure. Slave who becomes a king, overbearing fool who prospers, a bitter woman who finally gets a husband, a servant girl who still plants her mistress. These are things that's kind of bring upheaval into a community. And then again, he goes to 4 things, and then there are 3 and 4 that strut along. So he's giving these generic things, and he's emphasizing these realities for people, that things that are so wonderful and defy gravity, defy water, defy the ocean, things that take people down, and things that destroy kind of the world, but also the things that are wise and they're small. So he's saying, don't despise those things that are small. Seek to be as unassuming but as wise as these things. All right. Next, we're going to go to chapter 31. And this King Lemuel, who was given to his mother, she gives him a threefold advice, right? Don't get drunk, because then you might pursue ill-gotten gain, or you might not be able to even know what is right. And then he says, don't waste, verse 3, don't waste your strength on women, on those who ruin kings, right? This is maybe a direct reference to Solomon, who wasted his wisdom and his strength on women. And then she says, uphold justice for the poor and the needy. Speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice. Speak up for the poor and helpless. See that they get justice. So these are two things that take down people, is lust and drunkenness. And then there's a responsibility that you are to speak for those who have no voice. And now we get to the well-known Proverbs 31. Now, this woman is a virtuous and capable woman, but if you look at it, a lot of these things that this woman embodies is things that we've read in the rest of the Proverbs, right? She fears the Lord. She wakes up. She's not lazy. She puts her hands to the plow. She's enterprising. She's an entrepreneur. She's energetic. She's a hard worker. She cares for her servant girls. She extends help to the poor. She provides for her family warm clothes. And because of these things, she's well known. Has fine linen and purple gowns. But also there's this verse in here. Her husband is well known in the city gates, where he sits with other civic leaders. So this is also not just the Proverbs 31 woman. This is Proverbs 31 woman and man. A husband needs to be honorable and also working hard, being a leader for his family and for the community. As she goes on, she uses her words wisely, right? We've seen before how there's a big emphasis on the way we speak. She speaks, her words are wise. She gives instructions and kindness. And then again, it goes to fear. Verse 30, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. So this is essentially summarizing the rest of the book of Proverbs, saying these are how it can work out in the life of a man and the life of a woman. And it gives us a reality, tells us that women are to be enterprising, are to be entrepreneurs, are to be going out and doing the things that God, using the gifts that God has given them. But men are also to be doing that, to be going out and being enterprising people as well. So this is how wisdom plays out in the marriage of a man and a woman, is they are honored and praised when they live wisely. So let us be wives and husbands of noble character, women and men who seek the Lord and fear the Lord and give ourselves solely to Him. Hope you enjoy the reading today. God bless you.